I think one of the big things that I'd subsequently read about, which didn't come up for me at all when I was feeling burnt out, was that I'd processed it and I dealt with it, and I'd got to a point where I thought I can make my niche pivot, if you like, and I can leave that part behind, and I can move to do something else that I'm still going to find fulfilling, that I'm still going to enjoy, and it's going to be okay. It was terrifying, utterly terrifying, because I'd been doing that career for a long, long time. And I was closing a door on something, and I had a lot of people around me that were saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure you're making the right choice? Is that really the right thing to do?" And that was family and friends. And I sort of felt like saying, well, I haven't just decided to do it in the last 10 minutes. I have actually spent about 2 or if not 3 years thinking about it. And in that process that we've already described about me being studious, I'd read books, several. I'd thought about it. I'd asked people questions. I'd had a look, and I decided, is this something viable that I can do? So it wasn't taken lightly. And with the burnout, I'd felt that I'd processed it in my head absolutely fine. And what I wanted to, I suppose, achieve for other people was to try and stop them getting to where I'd got to, and stop the feelings that I'd had coming up for them. But I hadn't. One of the concepts I came across as I was writing and reading about all sorts of things was the concept of moral injury. And moral injury comes about when you're working in a system, and the system starts to expect you to do things which are perhaps slightly outside your values. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing something bad or that it's particularly unsafe, but it doesn't quite sit with how you perceive the way you want to work to be. And I think it's not just in healthcare. I think there's a whole pile of organizations which can inflict that sort of moral injury on people. And then they start talking about resilience, and we're all supposed to be resilient, and everybody in healthcare was meant to be resilient. And it puts the blame back onto the person. And the fact that you're not resilient enough means that you've burnt out. So it's your fault that you've burnt out. It's not the fault of the system. It's not the fault of anybody else. You're just not resilient enough. And I think that was what started to come up. And I started to get quite cross, I think, that I couldn't change the system that they were stuck in. So although I could perhaps coach people to be able to manage what they were thinking, I wanted to change the system, and I knew I couldn't change the system. And I was finding there was a lot of conflict there.